I was born in Southern California. I'm a first-generation American. My family immigrated here from Punjab, India. And really growing up, I would say I had a pretty normal childhood, except that I wasn't really allowed to do all the American kid type things. My family was just super conservative and very protective. And that made it a little bit difficult because I wanted to always just do my own thing and I wanted to do what all my friends were doing. But I was kind of always treated differently at home because I was a female. And in that culture, there's just a really big divide in how men are treated and how females are treated. So really from a young age, I constantly fought kind of that authority and I wanted to be my own person, and I really wanted just that attention from my family and from my friends, and I wanted to stand out in every way that I could. It quickly turned into, no matter what I was doing at school, was talked down upon or frowned upon because it wasn't what they wanted, like the little Indian girl, to be doing. And it was just difficult for me because I saw all the amazing things that females were doing, all the amazing things that my classmates were able to do. And so I started living a double life, really. At school, I wanted to be the normal quote-unquote American kid that did everything that my friends did, and then I would go home and try to be this obedient little Indian girl. We practiced Sikhism all my life. Part of my little double life was going to temple every Sunday. I really struggled with just who I was as a person, and I always just kept trying to achieve because I wanted people to know who I was. My parents were so against me joining the military or having anything to do with that. So I applied for the Marine Corps scholarship on my own and got through and fortunately got accepted, and so now I was going to get college paid for through the Marine Corps, and I was so excited because here I was just ready to kind of take on the world and stick it to my parents and say that I told you so and I can do this all on my own. But I quickly realized that it was going to be way more difficult than I thought when I showed up at the Citadel. And very quickly, I was just disappointed because everything that I had built up got deflated, and I really didn't know what to do, and I didn't know who to turn to in that. And one day, I met Jordan and BJ at a club mixer little fair thing that we had going on, and they invited me to a campus outreach game night. And through them just loving on me like that, I started asking them, why? And their answer to my question of why you're like this was their faith, and I was just so curious in that. I slowly but surely started realizing no matter what I did, I was never going to be happy, I was never going to be satisfied, and the reason why that is just that separation that humans had because of sin, and the fact that God would send down his only perfect son to die for me so that way I wouldn't have to feel those things in my life. It just started making sense. So one day, Jordan and I were studying, and she started asking me questions and said, you understand the gospel and you understand what this means. What keeps you back from wanting to accept Christ into your life? And I think I just remember being so scared at that time just to be able to verbalize and say that I do believe, and I do believe that Christ came down for me and that he is an all-loving father and that he is all the things that he promises, because it would mean that my whole world would completely flip upside down and the identity that I held so firmly to would no longer be there. I got a phone call from one of the Marine sergeants that I had to go see about my scholarship, and he was just filling out some paperwork, and one of the last questions he asked me was religion. And I just remember crying, and for the first time, I said that I was a Christian. And so from that point on, I was happy because I now realized what my life meant, but I was scared because what it meant for my family and just what that was going to mean and just the implications of it afterwards. It's always definitely still a challenge, especially with my family, because they don't believe and they are so hostile towards the gospel. I think the most difficult thing has been just not being able to go back to our home back in India. I would go back every summer growing up, and that's just been a part of who I am. But ever since I've come to Christ, I just kind of haven't been allowed to go back home. Just being able to answer so many questions with, well, because he loves you, and he's proven that he loves you 100-fold. And just being able to rely on that and truly seeing that all things are for good. And like those truths have just held so true in my own life, and I've seen that over and over and over again.